Yo, what is going on, guys? Cryptic TMG back with a brand new video. Today we're going to be using the Pimax Crystal Light VR headset in an online LMU daily race for the very first time. Now this could get a little bit sticky because we haven't really experienced any real races with the headset on, but today we're going to do it, so let's get stuck into the video. We actually messed up our quali lap, so we're probably a little bit behind where we should have been, but still we're on the front sort of free row, so it's not too bad at the end of the day. The guys in front in the Corvette, seriously quick. The Corvette was very fast around Bahrain, man, so it was gonna be pretty tough to keep up with them. But to me, I was more worried about the start, because the thing is, when you're in VR, you know, when someone dive bombs you, you don't get that sense as much when you're on a normal flat screen, but when you're in VR, you can really feel their presence behind you. So it's kind of crazy, man. Again, you end up using all your mirrors much more when you're in VR, because obviously visually for me inside the headset it's a lot closer to me than what you guys are actually able to see. So it's very interesting, man. I would say it's such a good experience, bro. Like, I'm really enjoying using the VR headset. Only thing is, for me, it's just pretty much the weight on your face and the heat. That's the only sort of things that, you know, deter me from doing longer races. But this is about to be the first race, and man, I'm telling you, it was insane. The guy in front gets a penalty because if you just saw at the beginning, when it went to time to slow down, he actually accelerated forward, and I think that's what got him the drive through, and that was going to be a free position. So I didn't want to challenge too much, because he could have been one of those guys that gets angry, gets upset when he gets a drive through, and then all of a sudden it just becomes carnage. I think there was a little bit of a lag spike there, and for whatever reason, you know, he just shot backwards in towards me, but we ended up not getting any damage, which I thought I was gonna have pretty bad damage, but somehow we survived. If you don't realize, a lot of the daily races are actually on 1.5 damage, so the damage is actually higher for a lot of the bronze daily races, and I think that's to deter people from making crazy moves and stuff like that. But you know, when you're dealing with like bronze lobbies, you would kind of think that maybe the damage wouldn't be as high, so a lot of the lesser skilled players can have, you know, just less of a punishment if they get things wrong, because it is sort of the, you know, the bronze races, you know. But anyway, we move, and this was the corner that was tricky, because as I said, you really have to get used to turning your head. You know, when you're not on just a normal screen, you have to get used to looking around the circuit, and that's one of the main things that I would say, you know, to practice when you first get into a VR. Of course, if you guys do want to test out a Crystal Light VR for yourselves, if you want to purchase one, the links are in the description. Also code Cryptic, and you guys can get some money off, so make sure you do that if you guys are interested. You can see we're having amazing battles, and I'm just biding my time. The Corvette's absolutely just getting off, but you know, at the moment, as I said, I'm not gonna push too hard when I'm behind the guy in the BMW, because I know he definitely has to pit. So I'm just gonna wait. I could try and get aggressive now, but for me, I know that I've got more to lose in this situation. So if I start throwing dive bombs down the inside, he could possibly get annoyed because he's already got a penalty, and then he can really ruin my race, because, you know, I don't have a penalty. I'm still fighting for a podium or whatever if I could get up to the Corvettes, whereas for him, you know, he's not going to be fighting for anything pretty much, apart from just not losing a crazy amount of DR. So just hanging back. I've got a lot more pace than what I'm showing at the moment, and I thought, well, I qualified ahead of the guy in the Lexus quite comfortably, so I should be able to catch him once this guy pits. I was hoping that he would just pit straight away so I can get on with it straight away, but we try and just keep close enough to where if anything does go down, we can gain a position. But it just feels so nice to drive around the circuit in VR, and particularly as well, what stood out to me is the lighting around the track. You can't really see it as much now, but I'm telling you, in VR it looked pretty crazy, man, pretty nice, the way how the lighting is on this circuit. And I was just trying to stay within contention that double left-hander for me is the tricky corner in VR. That is the one where, you know, all my struggles came. In qualifying, I messed up that corner twice in a row. So it was definitely harder for me because I generally don't think I was turning my head enough, but still pushing on. And one thing I do like about VR, it does allow you to be consistent because, you know, as I said, because you're so much closer, you know, you always seem to hit the exact same lines, the exact same parts of the track, and it just feels easier to do. You know, once you actually get used to a track in VR, I will stand by this. I think that it's may not be like overall much faster, but I feel like you end up being more consistent. Finally, the guy in the BMW pits. Now we can get on to the back of the Lexus. Now this is where I was going to start pushing. You can see the leader just done a 2:06, so he's absolutely flying. But we know Camille is always rapid whenever we're in the same lobby as him. So now was my time to push, and you can see already we're well up in the first corner because now I knew I had a race on. It's a pity that the Corvettes were so far gone because generally I think the Corvette is the fastest car around here. But of course, with it being such a tricky car, the majority of people don't tend to use it. But you guys might have seen the race I had on stream the other day where literally Whitehead was backing up Sam Gaskell in the Corvette because if he got into the lead, he would have been gone. So he backed him up, and then we ended up having like maybe a 6-7 car scrap, a 6-7 car train right at the front of the field, just literally scrapping for the podium positions, man. It was pretty cool, to be honest, man. But back to the race, and you can see we've pretty much closed straight in on the Lexus, man. And Lexus pretty quick down the straight, but I think it has good acceleration, so it's actually quite hard to get the run on them. But I wanted to see how hard this guy would fight, because if you see in turn 1, lap 1, he actually went around the outside. So I'm not sure where he qualified, but he went pretty deep on the brakes and managed to make it stick. So I think he gained quite a few positions. So his pace might not have been sort of the same as the leading group, and that's why I was able to close in so quickly. But we're going to try and put an overtake on him, trying to take wide lines in so I can get a better exit. But as you can see, the Lexus is not too bad out of the corners, man. And, you know, that's what makes it hard. You know, for me in VR, like judging how close I can get without contact is, you're almost like, whoa, as soon as you get close to someone, like you end up braking slightly earlier. When people are behind you, you tend to look in your mirrors a lot more. And that would be probably my weakness, is that I'm way more aware of cars behind me, and sometimes it can almost make you overreact, you know. But I managed to get the run. He doesn't really defend it down the inside. He actually brakes early. I think he's just letting us go at this point. And the gap to the leaders was a little bit too big now because they were gonna pretty much have the same pace, 5.4 seconds. I think Christian Rivera went somewhere, and I'm not sure if he got disconnected, because I actually had a race where I got disconnected and lost a ton of points. Even though I was able to get back into the lobby, I lost like -16, which was super annoying. And I think the same might have happened to Rivera. So now we're actually up into the podium positions, and you can see we had sort of a 5 or so second deficit. So let's see if we can bring that gap down. This is going to be our chance to see how consistent we could actually be. The gap's about 5.5 seconds to the leader at the moment. But yeah, now we didn't have a car in front of us. We don't really get that sort of understeer effect where we're just literally right behind someone. You can't actually see the corner, even more so in VR. Very difficult to see the corner when you're behind somebody. But now I just wanted to test my pace and test my consistency and see what I could do. Could I, you know, close the gap at all, or were the Corvettes just too fast? I probably thought they were going to be too fast because all the races I've done so far against the Corvette around here, they've been rapid. But in fairness, it's been some of the fastest guys on the game driving them. So let's see what I could do. Pushing on, trying to extend the gap. And for whatever reason, like normally the BMW, the tires do tend to fade just a little bit towards the end. But for me so far, the tires were good, man. We weren't really wearing the tires at all. So I was pretty happy with the tire wear, maybe because we took it easy for the first couple of laps, where normally the first couple of laps is where you absolutely hammer it, is where you get your fastest lap times. As you saw with the leader, I did a 2:06. It's normally in a lap 1 or 2, maybe 3 if you can stretch it, but after that you do tend to lose a little bit of the tire grip. But because we were taking it so easy for the first couple of laps, because we were pretty much waiting for the guy that had the drive-through to get out of the way, so yeah, we didn't really push it. So we've definitely got time in hand. We'll definitely be able to go quicker now. And just, you know, the enjoyment of driving for me is just always a level up when you're in the VR. For whatever reason, man, it always just feels much more enjoyable to drive the car when you're in VR. Even though, you know, us sim racers, we enjoy driving anyway, but for me, the experience is just, it's just, I don't know, man. It's very hard to explain without you putting a VR headset on your head, over your eyes yourself, you know. Very hard to explain how good it feels to feel like you're actually sat in the driver's seat. You just feel so much more connected, man. But I did think at first Bahrain would be a track that I would struggle to get used to because of particularly some of the tight corners, just because of that thing where you're just not looking into the corner enough. But as you guys can see, you know, going through certain corners, you can see the framework of the car can obscure your vision just a little bit. But I feel like the more you would do it, you would definitely get used to it and drive around it. Sort of like when the F1 drivers first started using the halo. I'm sure it was, you know, something that was in the way until they got used to it, and now it just like second nature, you know. But 10 minutes to go in this race, we're almost 4 tenths up on our lap and really extending the gap to the cars behind. And I feel like, you know, we're sort of holding pace with the guys in front. They just done a 2:01.1 and then we do a 2:01.1, so we had good pace. As I said, it was just more about the consistency, which is what I was trying to focus on once I got clear, because I sort of want to measure it up to how consistent I am when I'm on my normal monitor. And you know, if it is a thing where I end up being much more consistent in VR, I might have to look into, you know, a purchase, lads. I can't lie. I might have to look into a purchase because, you know, it's definitely worth having a look. If you do have, you know, the resources and stuff, and I'm telling you, to me, no one is going to try a VR and be like, no, this isn't worth it. The only people that maybe would feel like that is if you are sort of suffering from like a motion sickness or anything like that. But genuinely, if you love driving, being in a VR is going to be mental to you. I'm telling you, you're going to love it. So yeah, I would just advise people, if you can, you know, at any time, if you get the chance, try it because it's an amazing experience, man. But in this race, you could see I wasn't really losing any time, so I was pretty much matching the Corvette now, that was pretty cool for me because I knew how fast they were, extending the gap behind, and as I said, just easy to keep doing the same lines, very easy to be consistent. What I've noticed again is that, you know, when you push the car towards the edge of the track, you're much more aware of using the maximum amount of track without going over track limits. And that's one thing that I really like, you know, because you can see it, you're so much closer to it, you can literally push the car to the edge of the track and never have to worry about whether you're gonna go off, where sometimes I might feather the throttle a little bit too much because I'm not sure whether I'm gonna run wide or not, whereas now it's just easy. So I do a 2:01.2. So, you know, we're pumping in the lap times. We actually caught the guy in front quite a bit on that lap, and yeah, I was happy with it, man. It was very, very easy, very natural to get used to as well. The only thing, like for me, on the race itself, because I'm only using a 2080 graphics card, it's a little bit more laggy than what you guys actually see in the recording sometimes, and that's the only thing that sort of gets me. And obviously that's just because I don't have a super powerful graphics card. I've got a 2080, which is not bad, but of course on the market now you have way better graphics cards. So of course, the better your graphics card, the better experience you're gonna have in VR, and that's something you have to bear in mind. I'm not even getting the full extent of what this could actually do, you know. I'm having to turn down my settings a little bit just to make sure it's not too laggy and starts putting me off when I'm driving. And yeah, but other than that, the driving experience was cool, you know. 3.7 seconds behind, 4.7 now, so we've taken almost a second out of the guy in front, and we're still up on our laps. And as I said, guys, it's pretty easy just to pump the laps in, man. It's pretty easy. Now, what I would have liked to have had is a race where I was completely surrounded by cars, and seeing how that would have affected my pace and just generally, like, you know, my confidence in wheel-to-wheel battles and stuff. That's the important things. Those are the things that would be like bigger questions for me in terms of, you know, using this on a daily basis. You know, when you're in and around other cars battling, is there any sort of juddering, anything like that that could cause you to, you know, mess up? But, you know, I feel like I would be pretty seamless if I was to just go full VR, you know. Only thing, of course, would be just the longer races and having something on your head for that long. That's pretty heavy. You don't really notice it until you've had it on for a while. Then you start feeling like, hey, actually, I can start to feel the weight and the sweat. The one issue I did have is sweating inside the visor. That was like difficult because I couldn't wipe it away. So your eyes, your eyeballs your eyelids start sweating and stuff like that. And obviously that is covered, so I can't wipe the sweat away, and I can't, you know, stick my fingers underneath the visor to wipe my eyelids or anything like that. So that is one issue that I did have, but luckily enough, I just got on with it. And I guess it's no different from, you know, what real life drivers would have to go through with a helmet on. So it is what it is. But for me, I was pretty happy with the pace and the consistency. So fast forward onto the last lap of the race. The leader's still lapping in the lower 201s. We had a bad lap of 201.7, and there's a car coming out the pit lane right now, but just look at our tires, man. We're still 90, 92, 91, and 92. So we've been able to lap consistently and just not using up too much of the tire as well. And normally, of course, the BMW is a little harder on tires than some of the other cars. So I was pretty happy with how I drove, man. And yeah, it just felt so natural. Like the car was handling great, good tire wear, and you know, this for me is something that I've noticed in VR is that you end up being a lot smoother, because the way I've set the VR up is it feels like my arms are extended exactly the same, at exactly the same distance as the arms that you see on the screen. It's pretty weird to try and explain it, and for whatever reason, my inputs just seem to be just so much smoother, you know, so much easier to control. I'm not sort of bro steering or anything like that. I'm literally just making one adjustment while turning in, and for me, it just allows me to be super smooth. And for whatever reason, I just have better tire wear when I'm in VR. It might just be a perception thing, maybe because when I'm on my monitor, when you're sat a bit further away, you have to make more micro corrections as you're entering corners just to try and get the line perfect, whereas I'm not really having to do that much in VR. I'm literally just turning in once and that's it. You know, you will see in my steering wheel movement, I'm literally not correcting anything. So yeah, man, like as I said, look, we're still on for doing some low 201s. We're pretty much matching the leader's pace, man. We had pace good enough. I wish the gap wasn't as big at the start, and maybe we could have been in the slipstream and been able to keep up. But as you can see, leaders do 201.9 on the last lap. We do a 201.4. So yeah, pace was good, racing was great, and yeah, definitely an experience that is worth it. Again, have to thank Pimax for sending me the crystal light. It's been amazing using it. And guys, as I said, if you're interested, all the referral codes are in the description below. If you want some money off, you can use my code, which is Cryptic. Yeah, and trust me, lads, it has been pretty amazing. But if you guys notice, we did get a podium, and you know what happens when we get a podium. that podium was sweet, sweet, sweet. But anyway, guys, it's Cryptic TMG. Like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell to catch my videos first. And peace.